My children said I was losing my mind to take my 1.3 meters inheritance. They held a family meeting to send me away. I just nodded and showed proof. They had no idea what was coming. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe, hit the hype button, and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? Let me take you back 6 hours before that moment, back to when they thought they had me cornered. I was sitting at my own dining table, the one Margaret and I bought 40 years ago, solid oak, hand-carved legs, watching my children prepare to destroy me. The irony wasn't lost on me. This table had hosted birthday parties, Thanksgiving dinners, homework sessions. Now it was hosting my execution. Evelyn arrived first. My daughter, 38 years old, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly pension. She carried a leather portfolio under her arm like a weapon. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor with military precision. She didn't hug me. She never did anymore. "Dad," she said, setting her portfolio on the table. "Thanks for agreeing to meet." I hadn't agreed to anything. She'd called yesterday and told me to be here, but I nodded anyway, adjusting my glasses. The frames were slightly bent. I'd done that on purpose this morning. Small details matter. Greg came in behind her. My son-in-law, finance consultant, the kind of man who wears expensive watches and talks about optimizing assets. He gave me a tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Norman, good to see you." Norman, not Dad. We'd never had that relationship. I was fine with that. Ryan showed up 10 minutes late, which was early for him. My son, 35, wearing jeans and a button-down that looked slept in. He'd been living in California, doing something with tech startups that never quite worked out. He'd moved back to Denver 3 months ago, broke as usual. "Hey, Dad." He at least managed a hug, though it felt rehearsed. "How are you feeling?" "Same as yesterday," I said. "Why?" They exchanged glances, the kind of glances that said they'd rehearsed this conversation without me. Evelyn sat down across from me. Greg took the seat to her right. Ryan settled into the chair on my left, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Too much of it. "Dad," Evelyn began, folding her hands on the table. "We wanted to talk to you about some concerns we've been having." I waited. I've learned that silence makes people uncomfortable. They fill it with truth. "We've noticed some changes," she continued. "Small things. You forgot Ryan's birthday last month. You missed your cardiologist appointment. Mrs. Henderson said you asked her the same question 3 times at the grocery store." Mrs. Henderson was my neighbor, 82 years old, half-deaf, and couldn't remember her own address. But I didn't mention that. "I've been tired," I said instead. "The stroke took more out of me than I expected." That was true. 6 months ago, I'd had a minor stroke. TIA, they called it. Transient ischemic attack. I'd recovered well, according to my doctors. A little slower, maybe. But my mind was sharp. "That's exactly what we're worried about," Greg said, leaning forward. "Strokes can have long-term cognitive effects. We want to make sure you're getting the care you need." Cognitive effects. Fancy words for, we think you're losing your mind. Ryan put his hand on my shoulder. "Dad, we love you. We just want what's best for you." That's when I knew for certain. This wasn't about love. This was about money. My late wife Margaret's inheritance had finally cleared probate 3 months ago. $1.3 million, split between life insurance, investments, and the sale of her family's property in Montana. It was sitting in our joint account, now solely under my name. Evelyn slid a document across the table. We had Dr. Brennan do an assessment. Dr. Brennan, my physician of 20 years, had retired last year. This Dr. Brennan was someone I'd never met. I picked up the document. It was printed on official letterhead. Cognitive assessment summary, it read at the top. Below that, a list of symptoms: memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, difficulty with complex tasks. This says I have early-stage dementia, I said slowly. Early indicators, Evelyn corrected. Nothing confirmed, but enough to be concerned. I looked at Ryan. He wouldn't meet my eyes. When did I see this, Dr. Brennan? She reviewed your medical history, Greg said smoothly. Sometimes that's all that's needed for a preliminary assessment. A preliminary assessment based on someone else's interpretation of my files. No examination, no cognitive tests. Just a piece of paper that said what they needed it to say. We found a wonderful facility, Evelyn continued. Sunrise Meadows. It's in Boulder. Beautiful views, excellent staff, full medical support. A nursing home, I said. An assisted living community, she corrected. You'd have your own apartment. Independence, but with help when you need it. And my house? Another exchange of glances. We'd need to sell it, Greg said, to pay for your care. These facilities aren't cheap, but don't worry, we'll handle everything. Of course they would. They'd sell my house, move me into a home, and take control of Margaret's inheritance for my care. I'd be locked away, declared incompetent, and they'd have complete access to everything I'd built over 40 years. Ryan slid another document toward me. This is just temporary guardianship, he said. It gives Evelyn legal authority to make medical and financial decisions if you're unable to. Just a precaution. Just a precaution. Just temporary. Just sign here, Dad, and let us rob you blind. I picked up the pen they'd placed in front of me. My hand trembled slightly. Genuine fatigue from the afternoon, but it played perfectly. Where do I sign? I asked. Evelyn pointed to a line near the bottom. Right here, and initial here. I held the pen over the paper. They leaned forward, barely breathing. Then I set the pen down. I need to think about it, I said. Dad, Ryan started. Just for a day or two, I said. This is a big decision. You understand. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Of course, but we do need an answer soon. The facility has limited availability. I'll call you tomorrow, I said. They didn't like it, but they couldn't push. Not yet. They stood, gathering their papers. Evelyn left her copy of the guardianship document on the table. A reminder. A threat. After they left, I sat alone at the table for a long time. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Margaret used to fill it with NPR radio and the sound of her sewing machine. Now there was just the hum of the refrigerator and the tick of the wall clock. I picked up the guardianship document and read it carefully. Every word, every clause. I'm a mechanical engineer. I spent 40 years designing systems, finding weak points, solving problems. This document was just another system, and every system has flaws. That night, I made a phone call. Mara, I said when she answered, I need your help. Mara Jennings had been Margaret's best friend since college. They'd met at University of Colorado, both studying literature, both dreaming of changing the world. Margaret became a teacher. Mara became a paralegal. They stayed close through marriages, children, decades. When Margaret passed away 2 years ago, Mara was the one who kept me grounded. She took care of the funeral arrangements when I couldn't think clearly. She sat with me through the long, quiet evenings. She didn't try to fix anything. She just stayed. Now 63, retired, living in a small craftsman house in Capitol Hill, Mara was the sharpest person I knew, and the most loyal. She arrived at my house the next morning with coffee and a legal pad. Tell me everything, she said. I did. The meeting, the fake assessment, the guardianship papers, the nursing home. She listened without interrupting, making notes in her precise handwriting. When I finished, she leaned back. Those awful people. That about covers it. You didn't sign anything? No. Good. She tapped her pen against the legal pad. Because this is a trap. That guardianship document isn't temporary. Once you sign, they have complete control. They can liquidate assets, sell property, make medical decisions. You'd have no legal standing to challenge it. Can they force me? Not unless they get a court order declaring you incompetent, which requires a real psychiatric evaluation, usually multiple doctors, evidence of impairment. That assessment from Dr. Brennan wouldn't hold up. It's not even a proper diagnosis. So why the paperwork? Because they're hoping you'll just sign. Voluntary guardianship is much easier than going through the courts, and it looks better. No messy legal battles. Just a concerned family helping their declining father. I felt a cold anger settling in my chest. The kind that doesn't flare hot and burn out. The kind that stays focused, patient. How do I stop them? Mara smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. First, you prove you're competent. Second, you gather evidence of their intent. Third, you destroy them legally before they can move. I'm listening. She flipped to a fresh page. Margaret's trust. Do you remember the terms? I did. We'd arranged it 15 years earlier with a lawyer in Boulder. Standard terms. Assets divided equally among the children after our passing, with additional provisions for any grandchildren. There's a clause, Mara said. I remember Margaret insisting on it. Proof of competence. If either of you was ever declared incompetent, the trust required an independent evaluation by a board-certified psychiatrist before any assets could be transferred. I stared at her. I don't remember that. Margaret was worried about exactly this scenario, not with the kids. She never thought they'd go this far. But she'd seen it happen to her uncle, family swooping in, taking control. She wanted protection. So, if they try to claim I'm incompetent, you have the right to an independent evaluation, and if you pass, which you will, their whole plan falls apart. Not only do you keep control of the assets, but any attempt to defraud you becomes legally actionable. Can we use that assessment they gave me against them? Absolutely. It's fraudulent medical documentation used to coerce you. Add in any recordings or evidence of their real intentions, and you've got a case for attempted financial exploitation of an elder. Colorado takes that seriously. Recordings. I thought about the dining room conversation. I hadn't recorded it, but I wouldn't make that mistake again. I need to play along, I said slowly. Let them think they're winning. Exactly. But carefully. Don't sign anything. Stall. Seem confused, cooperative. Meanwhile, we build your defense. They'll push for a meeting with their lawyer. Try to pressure me. Let them. Record everything. Colorado's a one-party consent state. You can record any conversation you're part of without telling them. I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Purpose. Direction. The engineering part of my brain was clicking into gear, seeing the problem, mapping the solution. What do I need to do first? Mara handed me a business card. Dr. Sarah Hoffman, board-certified psychiatrist, specializes in geriatric cognitive assessments. I called her this morning. She can see you tomorrow. You were that sure I'd want to fight? Norman, I've known you for 40 years. You don't back down. You calculate. And right now, you're calculating how to make them regret this. She wasn't wrong. That afternoon, I went shopping, not for groceries, for equipment. I bought a digital voice recorder, smaller than a pack of gum, at an electronics store on Colfax. The kid behind the counter showed me how to use it. Voice-activated, 12 hours of battery life, stores up to 100 hours of audio. I bought a small camera, the kind designed for home security. It could be mounted anywhere, motion-activated, records to a cloud server. And I bought a smartwatch, not because I wanted to count my steps, but because it had a voice recording feature built in. Just press the side button twice. Back home, I practiced, activating the watch recorder without looking, placing the small voice recorder in my shirt pocket where it wouldn't be visible, setting up the camera in the living room, angled to cover the dining table. I felt ridiculous, a 68-year-old man playing spy games. But Margaret used to say I was thorough to a fault. Every system needs testing. Every plan needs redundancy. That evening, Evelyn called. Dad, have you thought about what we discussed? I let a beat of silence pass. Yes, I think maybe you're right. Really? She sounded surprised, relieved. I don't want to be a burden, and if I'm having problems, I should probably get help. That's very mature of you, Dad. I'm proud of you. Mature, like I was a child who'd finally learned to share. But I want to meet with your lawyer first, I said. Understand everything properly. Of course, I'll set something up. How's Friday? 2 days. Enough time to see Dr. Hoffman, enough time to prepare. Friday's good, I said. Great. I'll text you the details. Dad? Yes? I really do think this is best. For everyone. I'm sure you do, I said, and hung up. I sat in Margaret's chair, the one by the window where she used to read, and looked out at the street. October in Denver. The leaves were turning, gold and red against the blue sky. Margaret loved this time of year. I missed her with a physical ache, not just for comfort, though I wanted that, but for her clarity, her moral compass. She would have been devastated by what our children were trying to do, and she would have fought back twice as hard as I was planning to. I'll fix this, I said to the empty room. I promise. The house didn't answer, but I felt better having said it. Dr. Sarah Hoffman's office was in a medical building off Colorado Boulevard. Clean, modern, with abstract art on the walls that probably cost more than my first car. She was younger than I expected, mid-40s maybe, with gray-streaked hair pulled back in a practical bun. When she shook my hand, her grip was firm. Mr. Kestrel, thank you for coming in. Norman, please. Norman, Mara spoke highly of you. She said you're dealing with some family concerns. I liked that she didn't dance around it. My children think I'm losing my mind. I'd like to prove them wrong. She smiled. Then let's establish a baseline. This will take a few hours. Are you comfortable with that? Whatever it takes. The evaluation was thorough. Memory tests, recalling lists of words, sequences of numbers, details from short stories she read aloud, cognitive tests, solving puzzles, identifying patterns, completing tasks under time pressure, executive function tests, planning a route on a map, organizing a schedule, solving hypothetical problems. She asked about my medical history, my daily routine, my social interactions. She gave me written tests, verbal tests, physical coordination tests. By the end, I was exhausted, but clear-headed, sharp. How did I do? I asked. Dr. Hoffman reviewed her notes. Remarkably well. Your cognitive function is consistent with someone your age with no impairment. Memory is excellent. Problem-solving skills are above average. No signs of confusion, disorientation, or impaired judgment. So I'm not losing my mind. Not even close. You show some minor effects consistent with your previous stroke. Slightly slower processing speed in one area, but nothing that impacts your daily functioning or decision-making capacity. Relief flooded through me. I'd known it, felt it, but having it confirmed was different. Can you put that in writing? Absolutely. I'll prepare a full report. It'll be ready in 2 days. I need it before Friday. She looked at me carefully. This is for a legal matter, isn't it? Yes. Then I'll have it ready Thursday. And Norman, if your family is trying to declare you incompetent based on false information, you should consider consulting an attorney. What they're doing could constitute elder abuse. I'm working on it, I said. Friday morning, I dressed carefully. Clean slacks, a button-down shirt, my good shoes. I looked at myself in the mirror. An old man, maybe, but not a helpless one. I activated the voice recorder in my watch. Put the backup recorder in my shirt pocket. Made sure my phone was charged. It would record video if I needed it. Evelyn had arranged the meeting at her law office downtown. 12th floor, glass and steel, views of the mountains, her world, her territory. That was fine. Let her feel in control. Greg was already there when I arrived, sitting in the conference room with a man I didn't recognize. Late 50s, expensive suit, briefcase open on the table. Dad, this is Richard Soto. He specializes in estate planning and elder care. Richard stood, extending his hand. Mr. Kestrel, thank you for meeting with us. I shook his hand, saying nothing. Let them lead. Let them think I was uncertain. We sat. Richard pulled out documents, multiple copies of the guardianship agreement, stapled and tabbed. Your children have asked me to explain the guardianship arrangement, he began. This is a fairly standard document that allows Evelyn to make decisions on your behalf if you're unable to do so yourself. What kind of decisions? I asked. My voice was quieter than normal, uncertain. Medical decisions, financial decisions, housing decisions, but only if you're incapacitated. It's really just a safety net. And if I'm not incapacitated? Richard smiled, patient, condescending. Then nothing changes. You maintain full control. This is just insurance. But Evelyn said I need to move to a facility. That's a separate decision, based on the assessment your family obtained. He slid a copy of the fake Dr. Brennan report across the table. There are concerns about your ability to live independently. A transitional living facility would provide support while maintaining your dignity and independence. Dignity, independence, the words people use when they mean the opposite. How much would this facility cost? I asked. Greg leaned forward. Don't worry about that, Norman. We'll handle the finances. But it's my money. Of course, Richard said smoothly. But managing finances can be stressful, especially with health concerns. Evelyn would ensure everything is handled properly. What about my house? We'd need to sell it to fund your care, Evelyn said. She'd been quiet until now, letting the lawyer do the work. But we'd get top dollar. The market's strong right now. I nodded slowly, confused, compliant. Where do I sign? I asked. Richard pointed to several flagged pages. Here, here, and here, and initial the bottom of each page. I picked up the pen. My hand shook slightly, partly genuine fatigue, partly performance. Then I set the pen down. I need to use the restroom, I said. Dad? Evelyn started. Just a minute, I said, standing. Old man's bladder. You understand. In the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror. Took a breath. Checked that the watch was still recording. Then I pulled out my phone and texted Mara. Happening now, ready. Her response came immediately. Stick to the plan. Back in the conference room, they were waiting. The papers were still there, the pen in the same position. I sat down, picked up the pen again. You know, I said conversationally, Margaret and I set up our trust 15 years ago, with a lawyer in Boulder. I can't remember his name. Davidson? Danielson? That's fine, Dad, Evelyn said. This doesn't affect that. But it does, doesn't it? If I sign this, you get control of the trust assets. Richard cleared his throat. Only if necessary. Only to manage your care. What was the clause Margaret insisted on? I said, as if trying to remember. Something about competence? The room went very still. What clause? Greg asked. Oh, you know. If either of us was declared incompetent, there had to be an independent evaluation before anything could be transferred. I looked up at them, blinking. Isn't that standard? Evelyn's face had gone pale. Dad, where did you hear about that? Margaret told me, or maybe I read it. I don't remember. There's so much paperwork. I picked up the Dr. Brennan assessment. Is this that evaluation? This is a separate assessment, Richard said carefully. But it's not independent, is it? I never saw this, Dr. Brennan. Silence. You know what? I set the pen down again. I think I should talk to that lawyer in Boulder, just to make sure, before I sign anything. Dad, that's not necessary, Evelyn said tightly. Probably not, I agreed, but I'm a little confused about everything. You understand, with my memory problems and all? I stood up. Thank you for explaining everything, Mr. Soto. I'll think about it. Mr. Kestrel, I really should go. Doctor's appointment. I didn't have one, but they didn't know that. Evelyn, can you walk me out? She had no choice. In the elevator, she turned to me. Dad, what are you doing? Following your advice, I said mildly. Being careful, making sure I understand everything. You're making this more complicated than it needs to be. Am I? I looked at her. Really looked at her. Evelyn, do you think I'm losing my mind? She hesitated, just a fraction of a second. I think you need help. That's not what I asked. The elevator doors opened. I stepped out into the lobby. I'll call you, I said, and walked away. Outside, the October air was crisp. I walked 2 blocks before stopping at a coffee shop, ordered tea, my hands were shaking now, adrenaline crash, and sat by the window. I pulled out my phone and checked the watch recording. Clear audio. Every word. Richard's explanations. Evelyn's pressure. Their careful avoidance of anything illegal while pushing me toward signing. Not quite enough. But it was a start. That evening, Mara came over. I played her the recording. They're being careful, she said. Nothing explicitly fraudulent, just pressure and misdirection. What about the Brennan assessment? That's the weak point. It's definitely fraudulent, a diagnosis without examination. But we need to connect it to them. Prove they knew it was fake. How? She thought for a moment. Who referred them to Dr. Brennan? I don't know. Find out. If they paid for the assessment, if they knew Brennan never examined you, that's conspiracy to defraud. And if I can't prove it? Then we go with Plan B. You get your independent evaluation, which you already did, and use the trust clause to block them. It won't destroy them, but it'll stop the immediate threat. I thought about that. Stopping them was good. But it wasn't enough. They'd tried to steal my life, lock me away, take everything Margaret and I had built. No, stopping them wasn't enough. I wanted them to pay. Over the next week, I played the role they'd written for me. Confused, cooperative, slowly declining. I called Evelyn and left rambling messages about the weather, the news, things I'd seen on TV. Half of it was true. I was lonely. I did watch too much news. But I exaggerated, repeated myself, forgot what day it was. She started answering less, letting calls go to voicemail. That was fine. Every unreturned call was evidence that they weren't actually concerned about my well-being, just my assets. Ryan called once, asking about that paperwork. I told him I'd misplaced it. Could he send another copy? He said sure, but sounded frustrated. Good. Meanwhile, Mara and I worked. She pulled the original trust documents from the lawyer in Boulder, now retired, but his firm still had the records. The proof of competence clause was there, exactly as she'd remembered. Margaret's handwriting in the margins, must protect against coercion. She'd known. Somehow she'd known this could happen. We documented everything, the fake assessment, the guardianship papers, the meeting recordings. We built a timeline. When they'd started pushing, when the assessment appeared, when they'd arranged the lawyer meeting. And we found something interesting. Dr. Victoria Brennan existed. She had an office in Lakewood, specialized in geriatric psychiatry. But when Mara called, pretending to be from an insurance company verifying the assessment, Dr. Brennan's office had no record of me as a patient. Are you sure? Mara had asked. Norman Kestrel? Assessment dated September 15th? I'm sorry, ma'am. We have no record of that patient or that date. So the assessment was definitely fake. But who'd created it? The answer came from an unexpected source. I ran into Greg at King Soopers, the grocery store on First Avenue. He was in the produce section, examining avocados like he was buying diamonds. Norman, he said, surprised. How are you? Managing, I said. I was pushing a cart with a single bag of oranges in it, looking lost. Forgot what else I needed. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That happens. You should make a list. I did. can't remember where I put it. Maybe you should let someone help you with shopping. Evelyn could— I'm fine, I said sharply. Then, softer. Sorry, I'm fine. He relaxed slightly. No problem, just looking out for you. I nodded, starting to turn away, then stopped. Greg, that doctor assessment, Dr. Brennan, did you set that up? His expression flickered. Surprise, caution. Evelyn handled that. Why? Just wondering. I don't remember the appointment. Well, like I said, memory issues. Nothing to worry about. He patted my shoulder. Take care of yourself. I watched him leave, pulled out my phone. The conversation had been brief, but the watch had caught it, and more importantly, Greg had confirmed Evelyn's direct involvement. That night, I made another call, to Ryan. Dad, what's up? Can't sleep, I said. Keep thinking about that facility. Sunrise Meadows? Yeah, it's supposed to be nice. Have you seen it? Not yet. Evelyn's handling all that. Right. Evelyn's handling everything. I paused. Ryan, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think I'm losing my mind? Silence. Then, Dad, I think you're getting older. We all are, and maybe you need some help. That's not what I asked. I don't know, okay? I'm not a doctor, but Evelyn seems pretty sure and she's looked into it. Evelyn seems sure, I repeated. Did she show you the assessment? Yeah, the one from Dr. Brennan. Did you read it? Most of it. It was pretty technical. Did you call Dr. Brennan, verify it? Why would I do that? Evelyn's a lawyer. She knows how to handle this stuff. Right, I said. Evelyn knows. After I hung up, I sat in the dark living room. Ryan wasn't the mastermind. He was weak, greedy, but not the architect. This was Evelyn's plan. Maybe with Greg's help. But Evelyn was the one driving it. And that made it both easier and harder. Easier because the target was clear. Harder because Evelyn was smart, careful. She'd covered her tracks, but not well enough. The next day, I took a calculated risk. I drove to Lakewood, found Dr. Brennan's office, small professional building, 3rd floor. I walked in without an appointment. The receptionist looked up. Can I help you? I'm Norman Kestrel. I believe Dr. Brennan did an assessment for me last month. She frowned, checking her computer. I'm sorry. I don't have any record of that. Are you sure? September 15th? Dr. Brennan was on vacation in September. She didn't see any patients between the 10th and the 25th. Perfect. There must be some mistake, I said. My daughter arranged it. Evelyn Sutton? Recognition flickered across her face. Mrs. Sutton called a few weeks ago, but she didn't schedule an appointment. She just asked some questions about assessments. What kind of questions? I really shouldn't. I'm the patient, I said gently. Or supposedly. I just want to understand what happened. She hesitated. Then, she asked about the format of our assessment reports, what they looked like, what information they typically included. I thought she was considering making an appointment for you, but she never called back. So Evelyn had called, gotten the template information, and created a fake report. Forgery, fraud, conspiracy. Thank you, I said. That's very helpful. Back in my car, I called Mara, told her everything. That's it, she said. That's the connection. She contacted Brennan's office, got the information she needed, created a fake assessment. It's premeditated fraud. Can we prove it? The receptionist is a witness. The phone records should show Evelyn's call, and we have the fake assessment itself, which we can now definitively prove you never received. Combined with the recordings of them pressuring you to sign the guardianship papers, yes, we can prove it. What's next? We need to force their hand, make them commit fully to their plan, and then we destroy it. How? She was quiet for a moment. There's a board meeting next month. Kestrel Family Holdings Trust. It's the official oversight body for Margaret's trust assets. 3 board members. Margaret's cousin David, the family attorney Bernard Chen, and you. They meet annually to review the trust status. I'd forgotten about that. Margaret had insisted on the board structure to keep things transparent, professional. They'll want a competency determination, Mara continued. If there are concerns about your mental state, they're required to address it before any major asset decisions. Evelyn will bring her fake assessment. Exactly. She'll present it to the board, ask them to approve the guardianship, and that's when you present your evidence. The real evaluation from Dr. Hoffman, the recordings, the proof that she fabricated the Brennan assessment, everything. In front of witnesses, on the record. Exactly. You don't just stop them, you expose them, publicly, legally, permanently. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. When's the meeting? 3 weeks, November 7th. Can we move it up? I can try. Given the circumstances, concerns about your competency, I can request an emergency session. Do it, I said. Let's finish this. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for October 23rd, 2 weeks away. Mara filed the request, citing urgent concerns regarding trustee competency, requiring immediate board review. Evelyn called within hours. Dad, what the hell are you doing? I'd been expecting anger. This was fury, barely controlled. I don't know what you mean, I said mildly. You requested an emergency board meeting. Why? Mara suggested it. She said if there are concerns about my competency, we should address them formally. Isn't that what you wanted? Silence. Then, who's we? Why is Mara involved? She's helping me understand the process. Is that a problem? Dad, Mara's not a lawyer. She doesn't understand estate law. She was a paralegal for 30 years. I think she understands enough. This is exactly what we're worried about, Evelyn said, her voice tight. You're being influenced by people who don't have your best interests at heart. Are you saying you do? Of course I do. I'm your daughter. Then you should be happy about the board meeting. Everything can be resolved officially, properly. Fine, she said, if that's what you want. But Dad, this is going to be humiliating for you. They're going to hear all the evidence about your declining mental state. Everyone will know. I understand, I said. Do you? Do you really understand what's happening? I think so, I said. I think I understand perfectly. She hung up. I sat there for a moment, phone in hand. She was scared. Good. Scared people make mistakes. Over the next 2 weeks, I played my role to perfection. I went to the bank and tried to withdraw $10,000 in cash. The teller called Evelyn. They had her listed as an emergency contact. She came down, explained to me calmly that I didn't need that much cash, helped me withdraw $500 instead. The whole thing was witnessed by 3 bank employees. Perfect. I called Ryan late at night, confused about whether it was morning or evening, asked him to pick me up from a restaurant I wasn't actually at. He drove around looking for me while I sat safely at home, then called Evelyn in frustration. More evidence for their narrative. I left my car running in the driveway for 4 hours. A neighbor noticed and knocked on my door. I acted surprised, grateful. She mentioned it to Mrs. Henderson, who mentioned it to everyone else on the street. Each incident was calculated, each one reinforced their story, and each one was documented by me with context they didn't have. The bank withdrawal? I'd been testing whether they'd already flagged my account. They had. The late-night call to Ryan? Recorded, showing his frustration and his assumption I was confused rather than checking where I actually was. The car incident? I'd set my phone to record video through the window. The footage showed me returning to the car immediately after the neighbor left, calmly turning it off and going back inside. I was building a counter-narrative, not just that I was competent, but that they'd been actively constructing evidence of my incompetence. Meanwhile, Mara prepared the real evidence. Dr. Hoffman's full evaluation, 12 pages, comprehensive, unambiguous. Norman Kestrel shows no signs of cognitive impairment. The fake Brennan assessment, with Dr. Brennan's office statement confirming I'd never been seen. Phone records showing Evelyn's call to Brennan's office. The recording from the law office meeting. My watch recordings of every conversation with my children over the past month, financial records showing no unusual activity on my accounts, all my bills paid on time, no erratic purchases, no signs of mismanagement. And the trust documents with Margaret's clause highlighted. Any declaration of incompetence requires independent psychiatric evaluation by a board-certified specialist. Any attempt to circumvent this requirement or to coerce the trustee into ceding control shall result in immediate forfeiture of beneficiary status. That last part was the weapon. Margaret hadn't just required an evaluation. She'd built in consequences for fraud. 3 days before the meeting, I drove out to Margaret's grave. It was at Crown Hill Cemetery, on a hillside overlooking Denver. We had chosen the spot together 5 years before she passed away. Just in case, she'd said. It's better to be prepared. Her headstone was simple. Margaret Ann Kestrel, beloved wife, mother, teacher. 1956-2023. I sat on the grass beside it. October in Colorado means cold mornings, warm afternoons. The sun was bright, the sky impossibly blue. I miss you, I said. Every day. The wind rustled through the trees. Nothing else. They're trying to take what we built. Evelyn and Ryan, they think I'm weak, confused, easy to control. A bird called somewhere behind me. A crow, maybe. I'm going to stop them, using that clause you insisted on. You knew, didn't you? You knew they might try something like this. Silence. I wish you were here. You'd know the right thing to say, the right thing to do. I'm so angry, Margaret. And I don't know if that's right. If that's what you'd want. The wind picked up, colder now. But I can't let them win. I can't let them steal your legacy and pretend it's love. I stayed for another hour. Didn't talk. Just sat. Let the quiet settle into me. When I left, I felt steadier, clearer. Margaret would have fought back. She would have used every legal weapon available, and she would have done it without guilt. So would I. The night before the meeting, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios. What if the board sided with Evelyn anyway? What if they decided that even if the Brennan assessment was fake, there was enough concerning behavior to warrant guardianship? What if I wasn't as sharp as I thought? What if 2 years of grief and 6 months of recovery had taken more from me than I realized? What if I was wrong? At 3 a.m., I got up, made tea, sat at the kitchen table with my files, Dr. Hoffman's evaluation, clear, precise, unambiguous, the recordings, my children's voices, their plans, their assumptions, the financial records, every bill paid, every decision sound. I wasn't wrong. I was angry, and I was right to be. At dawn, I showered, dressed, ate breakfast, toast and coffee, like every morning. Mara picked me up at 9. The meeting was at 10, at the offices of Bernard Chen, downtown. Ready? She asked. Yes, I said. And I was. The conference room was smaller than I expected. 10 chairs around a dark wood table, windows overlooking downtown Denver, the mountains visible in the distance. Bernard Chen was already there, reviewing papers. He'd been the family attorney for 20 years, a precise, careful man in his early 60s. He nodded when I entered. Norman, thank you for coming. David Carrington came in next. Margaret's cousin, retired accountant, 70 years old. He'd always been kind to me, but we weren't close. Norman, he said, shaking my hand. His grip was firm. I was sorry to hear there have been some concerns. We'll address them today, I said. Evelyn arrived exactly at 10. She wasn't alone. Greg was with her, carrying a briefcase, and behind them, Richard Soto, the lawyer from before. Dad, Evelyn said. Cool. Professional. Mr. Chen. David. We took our seats. Evelyn and Greg on one side of the table, me on the other, with Mara beside me. Bernard at the head. David to his right. Richard Soto sat behind Evelyn, observer status. Bernard cleared his throat. This emergency session was called to address concerns regarding Norman Kestrel's competency as trustee of the Kestrel Family Holdings Trust. Evelyn, you requested this meeting? Actually, I requested it, Mara said, on Norman's behalf. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. And you are? Mara Jennings, friend of the family, acting in an advisory capacity. This is a family matter? The trust bylaws allow trustees to have advisors present, Bernard interrupted. Ms. Jennings is welcome. Evelyn's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Evelyn, Bernard continued, you've expressed concerns about your father's mental state. Can you elaborate? She pulled out a folder, organized, prepared. Over the past 6 months, since my father's stroke, we've observed significant cognitive decline, memory lapses, confusion about dates and times, difficulty with basic financial tasks, increasingly erratic behavior. She slid a document across to Bernard. This is a psychological assessment by Dr. Victoria Brennan, indicating early-stage dementia. Bernard reviewed it, passed it to David. Additionally, Evelyn continued, there have been multiple incidents. My father tried to withdraw $10,000 in cash with no clear reason. He called my brother at 2 a.m., confused about his location. He left his car running for hours, suggesting he forgot about it. She had more, a list of incidents, each one damning, each one true in its way. Given this evidence, she concluded, we believe it's in my father's best interest to accept voluntary guardianship. We've prepared the paperwork. She started to pull out more documents. Wait, Bernard said. Before we proceed, Norman, do you have a response? I looked at Evelyn. She looked confident, sure of her victory. Yes, I said. I do. I nodded to Mara. She opened her own folder. First, I said, regarding Dr. Brennan's assessment, it's fake. Evelyn went very still. I never saw Dr. Brennan. She never evaluated me. Her office confirmed she was on vacation the entire period in question. Evelyn called Dr. Brennan's office, obtained information about their assessment format, and created a fraudulent document. I slid Dr. Brennan's office statement across the table. Bernard read it, his expression darkening. That's absurd, Evelyn started. We have phone records showing your call to Dr. Brennan's office, Mara said. And Dr. Brennan's receptionist is willing to testify that you asked detailed questions about their assessment procedures, but never scheduled an appointment for your father. Evelyn's face had gone pale. Second, I continued, I did undergo a comprehensive psychiatric evaluation by Dr. Sarah Hoffman, a board-certified geriatric psychiatrist, with no connection to anyone in this room. Mara handed over the report. Bernard read it carefully, passed it to David. Dr. Hoffman found no signs of cognitive impairment, I said. No dementia, no confusion, no impaired judgment. Her exact words, Mr. Kestrel's cognitive function is consistent with someone his age with no impairment. Bernard set the report down, looked at Evelyn. Did you know the Brennan assessment was fraudulent? She started, stopped, recalculated. I relied on information I was given. Who gave it to you? Bernard asked. She said nothing. Let me save you the time, I said. Evelyn created it herself. She contacted Dr. Brennan's office, got the format, filled in a diagnosis that suited her purposes. All to convince me, and this board, that I was incompetent. This is outrageous, Greg said. You can't just accuse. Actually, I can, I said, because I have evidence. I pulled out my phone, connected it to the screen on the wall. The conference room had presentation equipment. Bernard used it for client meetings. This is a recording from the meeting at Evelyn's office, I said. October 4th. I played the audio. Richard Soto's voice filled the room. This is a fairly standard document that allows Evelyn to make decisions on your behalf. My voice. What about my house? Greg. We'd need to sell it to fund your care. Evelyn. But we'd get top dollar. The market's strong right now. I stopped the playback. They were planning to sell my house, move me into a facility, and take control of Margaret's entire inheritance, using a fake medical diagnosis as justification. David was staring at Evelyn. Bernard's expression was unreadable. The incidents Evelyn mentioned, I continued, all real, and all deliberately staged by me to test whether they'd flagged my accounts and to document their reaction. I showed the video from the car incident, me returning immediately after the neighbor left, calmly shutting it off. I wasn't confused. I was testing, and they failed. The room was silent. Norman, Bernard said finally, are you saying your children conspired to fraudulently declare you incompetent in order to gain control of the trust assets? Yes. That's not, Evelyn started. We were concerned. We thought. You thought I was an easy target, I said. You thought grief and a stroke had made me weak. You thought you could take everything Margaret and I built and I'd just let you. Dad, please, don't. My voice was cold, hard. Don't call me Dad. Don't pretend this was about my well-being. You wanted money, pure and simple. Ryan shifted in his seat. He'd been silent through all of this, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Ryan, I said, did you know the Brennan assessment was fake? He hesitated. Evelyn handled that part. She said, did you ask to see proof? Did you call Dr. Brennan? Did you question anything? No, he admitted quietly. You just went along. Because it was easier. Because you wanted your share. He looked away. I turned back to Bernard. There's one more thing. Margaret's trust includes a specific clause regarding competency challenges. The proof of competence clause, Bernard said. He'd found it in his papers. I remember. Your wife insisted on it. She did. And according to that clause, any attempt to circumvent the proper evaluation process or to coerce the trustee into ceding control results in immediate forfeiture of beneficiary status. Evelyn went white. You can't. I'm not doing anything, I said. The trust is. Margaret built in consequences for exactly what you tried to do, and those consequences are mandatory, not optional. Bernard was reading the clause. David leaned over, reading with him. Norman's correct, Bernard said slowly. This clause is clear. If there's evidence of fraud or coercion in a competency challenge, the challenging party forfeits their beneficiary rights. This is insane, Evelyn said. She was standing now, hands flat on the table. We were trying to help him. You were trying to rob him, Mara said sharply. You created fraudulent medical documents. You attempted to coerce him into signing guardianship papers. You conspired to sell his house and institutionalize him, all for money. That's not. It is, I said quietly. And you know it. The fight went out of her. She sat down slowly. Greg looked at her. Evelyn? She said nothing. Ryan put his head in his hands. Bernard cleared his throat. Based on the evidence presented, Dr. Hoffman's evaluation, the fraudulent Brennan assessment, the recordings, and the clear attempt at financial coercion, I move that Norman Kestrel is found fully competent to serve as trustee. Seconded, David said immediately. Any objections? Bernard asked. Silence. Motion passes. Norman remains primary trustee with full authority. Furthermore, Bernard continued, based on the same evidence, I move that Evelyn Sutton and Ryan Kestrel be removed as beneficiaries of the Kestrel Family Holdings Trust, in accordance with the proof of competence clause. My heart was pounding. This was it. The moment. Seconded, David said again. Wait, Ryan said. Please. I didn't know about the fake assessment. I just went along with what Evelyn said. You're an adult, I said. You made a choice. Dad, please. The trust has spoken, Bernard said. Any objections? Greg started to speak, but Evelyn put her hand on his arm, stopped him. Motion passes, Bernard said. effective immediately. The room was silent. I stood up, gathered my papers. "Norman," Evelyn said. Her voice was small, broken. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," I said. "You meant every bit of it. You just didn't think you'd get caught." I looked at Ryan. "You want to know the saddest part? If you'd just waited, if you'd just been patient, been decent, been my children, eventually you would have inherited everything. Not because of a trust or a will, but because I loved you." "Dad." "Loved," I said, past tense. I walked to the door. Mara followed. "Norman," Bernard called, "the trust assets. What do you want to do with them?" I stopped, turned back. "I'm establishing the Margaret Kestrel Foundation," I said, "for education scholarships. Every dollar of her inheritance goes there. Nothing to Evelyn, nothing to Ryan. It'll help kids who actually deserve it." "You can't," Evelyn started. "I can," I said. "The trust bylaws give me full discretion over charitable distributions. Bernard can confirm." Bernard nodded slowly. "That's correct." Evelyn was crying now. Quiet, angry tears. I didn't care. I left. In the elevator, Mara turned to me. "How do you feel?" I thought about it, really thought. "Good," I said. "I feel good." And I did. No guilt, no regret, just clean, clear satisfaction. They'd tried to bury me. I'd buried them instead. We walked out into October sunshine. Denver spread below us, the mountains rising in the west. Margaret had loved this view. "What now?" Mara asked. "Now?" I smiled. "Now I go home, make dinner, water Margaret's plants, live my life. Just like that? Just like that." We walked to her car. She drove me back to my house, the house Evelyn had wanted to sell, Ryan had wanted to ransack, Greg had wanted to control. It was mine, all mine, the way it should be. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Margaret's chair by the window, the dining table where they'd tried to trap me, the kitchen where I'd made breakfast this morning, preparing for war. I made tea, sat in Margaret's chair, looked out at the street. Mrs. Henderson was walking her dog. The mailman was making his rounds. A kid on a skateboard went past, headphones on, oblivious. Normal life. My life. My phone buzzed. A text from David Carrington. "Norman, what you did today took courage. Margaret would be proud. D." I stared at the message for a long time. Would she? Margaret had been kind, generous, forgiving. Would she have wanted me to cut off our children completely? But Margaret had also been fierce about fairness, about truth. She'd built that clause into the trust for a reason. She'd known that love wasn't enough, that protection required teeth. Yes, she'd be proud. Another text, from Ryan. "Dad, I'm so sorry. Yes, please. Can we talk?" I deleted it without responding. A voicemail notification. Evelyn. I didn't listen to it. Deleted that too. They'd made their choices. Now they lived with them. The house phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. It was probably one of them, trying again. Or maybe reporters. The story would get out. Elder financial abuse case, children disinherited, dramatic board meeting. Let them call. I had nothing to say. That evening, I made spaghetti. Margaret's recipe, the one she'd gotten from her grandmother. Simple. Marinara from scratch, garlic bread, salad. I set the table for one, poured a glass of wine, ate slowly, savoring each bite. After dinner, I called Mara. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For believing me, for helping, for being there." "Norman, you did this yourself. I just provided legal backup. Still, thank you." She was quiet for a moment. "What you said to them, about love, that was hard." It was true. I know, but still hard. Margaret used to say that the hardest truths are usually the most necessary. She was a wise woman. Yes, I said, she was. After we hung up, I sat in the living room, turned on the TV but didn't watch it. just let the sound fill the empty space. This house had held so much. 40 years of marriage, 2 children growing up, holidays, arguments, quiet mornings, loud nights. Love. Now it was just me. But I wasn't sad. I was free. They couldn't touch me now, couldn't manipulate me, couldn't control me, couldn't take what was mine. And the foundation, Margaret's foundation, would help hundreds of kids. Kids who actually needed it, who'd work hard, who'd make something of the opportunity. That mattered more than any inheritance Evelyn or Ryan would have wasted. I finished my wine, turned off the TV, went to bed, and slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through the bedroom window. 7:30. Later than usual, but I'd needed the sleep. Downstairs, I made coffee. Toast with butter and jam. Simple breakfast, same as every morning. The newspaper was on the front step. I brought it in, scanned the headlines. Nothing about me. That would come later, maybe. Local lawyer's family drama. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe I'd get lucky, and this would stay private. I was halfway through the crossword when someone knocked on the door. Through the window, I could see a car in the driveway. Not Evelyn's BMW, not Ryan's beat-up Honda. A Prius. I opened the door. A woman stood there, maybe 40, wearing jeans and a blazer. Professional but casual. She had a notebook in her hand. "Mr. Kestrel, I'm Jennifer Park from the Denver Post. I was hoping to ask you a few questions about yesterday's board meeting." So it had gotten out. Faster than I'd expected. "No comment," I said. "I understand you successfully challenged your children's attempt to have you declared incompetent, that they'd used fraudulent medical documents." "No comment," I repeated. "Mr. Kestrel, this is a story a lot of people will relate to. Elder financial abuse is a growing problem. Your case could help others." "Ms. Park," I said, "I appreciate what you're trying to do, but this is a private family matter. I have nothing to say publicly." She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "I understand. If you change your mind..." She handed me a business card. "Call me. I promise I'll be fair." I took the card, closed the door. Through the window, I watched her get in her car and leave. Private family matter, that's what I'd said. But it wasn't private anymore. Bernard and David knew, Richard Soto knew, Dr. Hoffman knew, Mara knew. The story would spread. Fine, let it. I had nothing to hide. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. "Mr. Kestrel, this is Detective Maria Chavez, Denver Police. I'm calling regarding a report of elder financial abuse." I sat down. "Who filed a report?" "I'm not at liberty to say, but based on the information provided, we'd like to ask you some questions. Would you be willing to come to the station?" "Am I being charged with something?" "No, sir. We just need to gather information." I thought about it. The police were involved now. This was escalating beyond family drama into criminal investigation. "Good. I can come this afternoon," I said. 2 p.m.? "I'll be there." The police station was downtown, a modern building with too much glass. Detective Chavez met me in the lobby, a woman in her 40s, dark hair pulled back, sharp eyes. "Mr. Kestrel, thank you for coming in." She led me to an interview room. Small, plain, a table and 3 chairs. "Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "I'm fine." She sat across from me, a folder in front of her. "Mr. Kestrel, we received a report that your daughter, Evelyn Sutton, attempted to fraudulently declare you incompetent in order to gain control of your assets. Can you tell me about that?" I told her everything. The fake assessment, the guardianship papers, the pressure, the board meeting. She took notes, asking clarifying questions. "Do you have copies of the fraudulent assessment?" "Yes, and recordings of conversations where they discussed their plan." "We'll need those, and I'd like to speak with Dr. Brennan, confirm her office statement. Mara Jennings has all the documentation. I can have her send it to you." "That would be helpful." She paused. "Mr. Kestrel, what outcome are you looking for here?" What do you mean? Do you want to press charges? Criminal charges mean prosecution, trial, potential jail time. This is your daughter we're talking about. I thought about Evelyn, sitting in that conference room, her face pale with shock, crying as I left. Did I want her in jail? I want her held accountable, I said slowly. I want this on record, so she can't try it again with someone else. But jail? I shook my head. That's up to you, not me. We'll investigate, Detective Chavez said. Determine if there's enough evidence for charges. It'll take some time. I have time, I said. When I got home, there were 3 more cars in front of my house. Reporters, probably. I drove past, parked around the corner, walked through the neighbor's yard to my back door. Inside, I called Mara. The police called, I said. I know. They called me too. I'm sending them everything. Good. Norman, there's something else. Greg Sutton called me. He wants to meet with you. Why? He didn't say, but he sounded desperate. Tell him no. Are you sure? He might have information. I don't care. I'm done with them. She was quiet. Okay, I'll tell him. That evening, I made dinner. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, rice. Ate at the dining table, alone, but not lonely. After dinner, I went to Margaret's grave again. The cemetery was quiet. Evening light, long shadows, the sound of wind in the trees. They're gone, I told her. Evelyn and Ryan. Out of the trust, out of my life. They tried to take everything, and they lost. A bird called in the distance. The foundation's set up. Your name, your legacy. It'll help kids for decades. I sat on the grass beside her headstone. I don't know if you'd approve of how hard I went after them. But Margaret, they were going to lock me away, steal everything we built. I couldn't let them. The wind picked up, cold now, October turning toward November. I miss you, I said. Every single day. But I'm okay. I'm managing, and I won't let anyone take advantage of me. Not anymore. I stayed until dark, then drove home. 3 weeks passed. The reporters eventually left. The story ran in the Denver Post. Local man fights off elder abuse attempt by children, but it was buried on page 6. Not dramatic enough for the front page. Detective Chavez called twice for follow-up questions. I answered, provided more documentation. Let the process work. Evelyn and Ryan didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up at my house. Maybe Greg had told them to stay away, maybe their lawyer had, or maybe they'd finally gotten the message. I settled into a new routine. Morning walks around the neighborhood, crossword puzzles, reading. I joined a chess club at the library, bunch of old guys like me, arguing about strategy and drinking bad coffee. Mara and I had lunch once a week. She never asked about Evelyn or Ryan, just talked about her garden, her book club, the news, normal life, quiet life, and I was fine with that. Then, on a Tuesday in early November, my phone rang. Unknown number again. Mr. Kestrel, this is Amanda Friedman from the District Attorney's Office. I'm calling regarding the case against Evelyn Sutton. My heart rate picked up. Yes? We've completed our investigation. Based on the evidence, the fraudulent medical assessment, the recorded conversations, witness statements, we have sufficient grounds to file charges. What kind of charges? Attempted exploitation of an at-risk adult, forgery, conspiracy to commit fraud. If convicted, she's looking at significant prison time. Prison. Evelyn in prison. We wanted to inform you before we proceed, Amanda continued. As the victim, you have a right to know, and if you have any concerns, we want to hear them. What are my options? You can't stop us from prosecuting. This is a criminal matter, not a civil one. But your cooperation would strengthen the case. Testimony, interviews, that kind of thing. And if I don't cooperate? We can still proceed. We have the evidence. But it would be harder. I thought about it. Evelyn, cross-examined in court. Her career destroyed. Her reputation ruined. Everything she'd built taken away. the way she'd tried to take everything from me. "Mr. Kestrel, I'll cooperate," I said. "Fully. Thank you. Someone from my office will be in touch to schedule an interview." After I hung up, I sat for a long time. Was this too much? Was I taking it too far? No. She'd crossed a line, not just trying to steal money, but trying to rob me of my autonomy, my dignity, my life. She'd looked me in the eye and lied, used fake medical records, conspired with her husband to lock me away. That deserved consequences. Real consequences. The DA's office called 2 days later. Interview scheduled for November 15th. The night before, I couldn't sleep again. Lay in bed thinking about Evelyn as a child. 8 years old, coming home with a school project about family trees. So proud, showing me what she'd made. She was 10 years old, crying when her hamster passed away. I held her as she cried. 16, fighting with Margaret about curfews, slamming doors, screaming that we didn't understand. 22, graduating law school, top of her class, Margaret crying with pride. When had it changed? When had she become someone who could look at her father and see only a problem to be solved, an asset to be managed? Or had she always been that way, and I just hadn't seen it? At the DA's office, Amanda Friedman was professional, thorough. She asked about every detail, the timeline, the conversations, the documents, recorded everything. "This is a strong case," she said when we finished. "With your testimony and the physical evidence, conviction is likely." "How long until trial?" "Probably 6 months. These things take time. But we'll keep you informed." 6 months. Half a year until this was finally, fully over. "Mr. Kestrel," Amanda said, "one more thing. Evelyn Sutton's attorney has expressed interest in a plea deal, reduced charges in exchange for a guilty plea." "What would that mean?" "Probably probation, community service, restitution. No prison time." I looked at her. "What do you recommend?" "Honestly, I'd rather go to trial, make an example, show that elder abuse has real consequences. But ultimately, it's your call. If you'd prefer to avoid the trial, if you want this over with quickly, a plea deal might be the better option." I thought about it. A trial meant months more of this. Testifying. Seeing Evelyn across the courtroom, reliving everything. But a plea deal meant she got away easy. Probation, community service, a slap on the wrist. "No deal," I said. "Take it to trial." Amanda smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." The trial was set for April, 5 months away. I spent the winter preparing, meeting with Amanda and her team, going over testimony, reviewing evidence. It was exhausting, but necessary. Christmas came and went, first one alone. I had dinner with Mara and her daughter's family. It was nice, but I was glad to go home afterward. New Year's. I watched the fireworks from my back porch, thought about Margaret, about how much had changed in 2 years. In February, Ryan called. I saw his name on the screen and almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "What do you want?" "Dad." His voice was rough. "I need to talk to you, not on the phone. Please, can I come over?" "Fine. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. He arrived exactly on time, looked terrible, thinner, tired, wearing clothes that didn't fit right. "Thank you for seeing me," he said. I didn't invite him in. We stood on the porch. I wanted to apologize, really apologize. I was wrong, about everything. I went along with Evelyn's plan because I needed money and I was too weak to say no. I didn't ask questions because I didn't want to know the answers. And I hurt you. I'm sorry. I studied him. He looked sincere, but Ryan was always good at seeming sincere. You're still out of the trust, I said. That's not changing. I know. I'm not asking for money. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Noted. He started to leave, then turned back. Dad, I know you don't believe this, but I did love you. I do love you. Love isn't enough, I said. Not when you betray it. He nodded and left. I watched him drive away, felt nothing, not anger, not forgiveness, just empty. In March, Amanda called. Evelyn's attorney wants to meet with you directly. They think if you talk, you might change your mind about the plea deal. Set it up, I said. Let's hear what she has to say. The meeting was at Bernard Chen's office. Evelyn was already there when I arrived, sitting alone at the table. She looked different, older, worn, like she'd lost weight. Dad, she said, thank you for coming. I wanted to explain. Explain what? That you created fake medical records? That you tried to steal everything Margaret and I built? She flinched. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday. This was a crime. I know. I'm sorry. I thought I was helping. You weren't yourself after the stroke. So you created a fake assessment instead of getting a real one? She looked down. That was wrong. But Dad, please. I'm sorry. I know I can't fix this, but please don't send me to prison. I have kids. Greg and I are separated. If I go to jail, I lose everything. You tried to take everything from me, I said. Why should I care if you lose everything? Because I'm your daughter. Those words hung in the air. You stopped being my daughter when you tried to rob me, I said quietly. That's not fair. Fair? You fabricated evidence. You lied to everyone. You tried to have me declared insane, and now you want mercy? Yes, because I'm still your child, and you loved me once. Loved, I said. Past tense. I walked to the door. Dad, please. See you in court, I said, and left. The trial started April 7th. Jury selection took 2 days. Opening statements on day 3. Amanda laid out the case methodically. The fake assessment, the guardianship trap, the recordings. Evelyn's lawyer argued it was a misunderstanding. Overzealous concern for a declining parent. The jury didn't look convinced. I testified on day 4. Playing the recording of that lawyer meeting was devastating. My voice, confused and compliant. Their voices, patient and predatory. Dr. Hoffman testified on day 6. Clear, professional, unshakable. The Brennan assessment was fraudulent. Dr. Brennan herself confirmed I'd never been her patient. Confirmed Evelyn's call to her office. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Final arguments on April 21st. Amanda was brilliant. This wasn't concern, she told the jury. This was theft, planned, deliberate theft. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty. On all counts. In the courtroom, Evelyn collapsed. Greg put his face in his hands. I felt nothing. Just completion. It was done. Sentencing was 3 weeks later. May 14th. Amanda recommended 4 years in prison. Evelyn's lawyer pleaded for leniency. Then the judge asked if I wanted to speak. I stood. Your Honor, Evelyn Sutton is my daughter. I raised her, loved her, and she tried to destroy me. She planned it, created fake documents, manipulated everyone, all to steal money. They said I was losing my mind to take my 1.3 Maller's inheritance. They held a family meeting to send me away. I just nodded and showed proof. They had no idea what was coming, but I knew, and I fought back. Your Honor, I'm asking for justice. Whatever you decide, let it be clear, what she did was wrong, and it deserves consequences. I sat down. The judge was quiet. Then, Evelyn Sutton, please stand. You have been found guilty of attempted exploitation of an at-risk adult, forgery, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Your actions were calculated, deliberate, and cruel. You created fraudulent documents. You manipulated your own father. The court sentences you to 3 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections, followed by 2 years of supervised probation. Furthermore, you are ordered to pay full restitution for all legal costs incurred by your father, as well as a fine of $50,000. The gavel came down. Final. Absolute. It was over.